What a dump. Boris made huge mistake attacking Democrats while defying COVID restriction himself. This government is hammering away at the foundations of a free society. Look to Warsaw to see where that can lead. It's time we stopped marveling at Boris Johnson's instinct for political survival and speculating about how long he can hold on as Prime Minister. I know that might be particularly difficult this week. But if his party does actually topple him over one of the few sensible things he has done in his time at number 10, such as introducing new COVID measures to protect the population, then this would be more than just a historical irony. It would be further proof that Britain's real problem isn't Boris Johnson, but rather the Conservatives themselves. According to Graham Brady, for instance, who is chairman of the influential 1922 Committee of Backbench Conservative MPs, the proposed anti-COVID measures, which are due to be voted on the 14th of December, are an authoritarian assault on freedom itself. Clearly, Brady has either not understood the nature of authoritarianism, or this is a deliberate attempt to distract us from the real assault being led by this government, the one against the very fabric of British democracy. While the whole country is still compulsively debating whether, when, and how often its Prime Minister has lied and cheated, quick answer, he has done so whenever and wherever possible. Behind the curtains and almost wholly unnoticed, this government is hammering away at the very foundations of what Britain once stood for more than any other country, liberal democracy. If that sounds too vague or alarmist, let me give you a highly topical concrete example. The House of Lords is continuing to scrutinise the police, crime, sentencing and courts bill with which Home Secretary Priti Patel may render it almost impossible for Britons to protest freely. How? The bill proposes to make it a criminal offence to cause serious unease through demonstrations. Who defines what constitutes said discomfort is, as yet, unclear. In summary, this means that the police will be able to arrest anyone who may commit a crime. The crime doesn't actually need to have been committed. And as the bill proposes that any disturbance to public order may be an offence, this, in turn, means that almost anyone who even intends to participate in a demonstration may be vulnerable to being detained. The British Prime Minister is facing a new virus variant, a rebellious Conservative Party, collapsing poll ratings and questions about whether he or his staff flouted the lockdown rules. The Prime Minister faces a different kind of deluge, from a rebellious Conservative Party, collapsing poll ratings and persistent questions about whether he or his staff flouted the very lockdown rules they imposed on the public. The cascade of bad news is so extreme that it has raised questions about whether Mr. Johnson will even hang on to power until the next election. It is an ominous turn for a leader who has long defied political gravity, surviving scandals and setbacks that would have sunk many other politicians. It's not the end for him, but I think it's the beginning of the end, said Jonathan Powell, who served as Chief of Staff to a Labour Prime Minister, Tony Blair. The problem is that these crises have a cumulative effect. As soon as he ceases to be an asset and the party is facing an election, they'll get rid of him. With no general election likely for at least 2 years, there is no immediate threat to Mr. Johnson from the voters. But if Conservative lawmakers decide that Mr. Johnson's unpopularity is jeopardizing their political futures, they have the power to eject him through an internal leadership vote, or a vote of no confidence. For the first time, political analysts and party members said, such a challenge seems plausible. Mr. Powell cautioned that this could be a protracted drama. Mr. Johnson, 57, has shown an almost preternatural ability to bounce back from adversity, and despite the recent disgruntlement in his party, he retains an advantage of about 80 seats in Parliament.